On the one hand, it was believed Mars was peopled by a good, if somewhat pitiful race who were struggling desperately to stay alive by rooting water from the poles to the warmer equator. But on the other hand, it was thought Martians were evil, only waiting for a chance to take over Earth and enslave its inhabitants.
Thanks to several probes and 2 interplanetary laboratories that landed on the surface of Mars, we now know that we won't find any massive canal structures, much less any little green men running around. But we still have some interesting questions about the red planet. Mars is surprisingly small, considering its mythical reputation. It's about half the size of the Earth and weighs only 1/10 as much. Mars is clearly made of much lighter elements than our home planet. Mars takes almost 700 Earth days to circle the Sun, so its year lasts twice as long as ours. But its day lasts 24.4 hours, remarkably close to our own. In relation to the Sun, Mars tilts on its axis to the same degree as the Earth, so it has similar seasonal changes. But Mars travels a more oval path around the Sun than our planet does. This orbit means Mars' distance from the Sun and its speed differ greatly at different times of the year, so its seasons are uneven. In the Martian north, for example, spring lasts 194 days, while fall lasts only 143.
Mars has an atmosphere similar to our own, but very thin. The surface pressure there is comparable to the thin atmosphere 50,000 feet above the Earth. It doesn't have enough volume to keep a person alive, but it's not toxic, and it's similar to the chemical makeup of our own atmosphere.
With proper equipment, we could compress the thin atmosphere of Mars and create breathable air, air that could be pumped into sealed domes on the planet's surface. The sealed domes would have to be heated, too. The warmest it gets on Mars is about 40 degrees, and the normal temperature usually hovers around the freezing temperature of carbon dioxide. That is the temperature of dry ice. Pioneers on the planet would have to be hardy souls indeed.
Mars may have much to offer in its mineral wealth, but one material is more valuable than the others. Now, you might be thinking gold or platinum, but the substance is water. Without water, human habitation is extremely difficult to sustain.
Scientists had speculated that there was water on Mars for a long time, but for hard evidence they had to wait for the Mariner missions to map the Martian surface. The photographs sent back by the Mariner spacecraft clearly showed grooves, canyons, and valleys. A forceful flow of water must have made these formations.
There is strong evidence that in the distant past on Mars there was once a very warm, wet climate, and given that we believe that life requires a liquid environment and warmer conditions, it's conceivable that life did exist on the surface of Mars at one point in terms of primitive life forms. And so I would think the best recourse to search for life would be to look for archaeological signatures or fossils.
This startling photograph outlines clearly the estuaries and deltas formed by some ancient river. A river that may have carried along its path the same chemistry for the creation of life as our early oceans.
So if there was water, what happened to it?
The planet's weak gravity may have let most of it in the form of vapor escape to space. Some is trapped in the polar caps, which contain water ice and carbon dioxide ice. A fair amount of it could still be underground. Water may be trapped in a permafrost layer just below the surface. What look like mud flows around the sites of asteroid impact craters could have been formed by the melting and mixing of ice and Martian soil. In 1976, the Viking landers gave us the first ground-level view of the surface. The cameras revealed a surface not covered in blood, as myths said, but a desert of stone and iron oxide dust. Mars is a rusting planet with a blue sky like our own. Mariner 9 revealed that Mars has the biggest volcano in the solar system. Olympus Mons is a mountain 3 times higher than Mount Everest, but shaped like a great bulging shield, as is its similar cousin here on Earth, the island of Hawaii. It has great cliffs, scoured gorges, and great basins, but huge global sandstorms can hide these features for weeks at a time. By Earth standards, Mars is a desert more severe than any on our planet. Its soil is at once frozen from below and fried from above by the ultraviolet radiation its atmosphere is too thin to stop. There are only traces of oxygen and no surface water.
But for all this harshness, some scientists still believe life may yet be found on its surface. There's no expectation of finding an underground civilization beneath the planet's crust. At best, the life of Mars would be microorganisms. They would be in the rocks of the soil between the two extremes of temperature and protected from radiation. If we find such creatures, it will be a fantastic discovery, a day of encouragement, and a sign that we might inhabit this place of stark beauty as well. Who knows? It may be your children's destiny to become Martians.